Well, hey, everybody. This is a bit of a difficult video for me. Recording it now because we just got the news, and I felt it was important to do a tribute to an artist whose music was very instrumental in my life. Today, it was announced that David Crosby, the one of the founding members of the Byrds, and Crosby, Stills and Nash, Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, passed away today at the age of 81. And this is one of the downsides of not doing a daily radio show or a regular radio show. And it's the kind of thing I would be covering on the air, were I on the air, because this figure's music was so important, so influential in my life. I first heard David Crosby probably when I was about 12 or 13 years old. I had an older sister who have an older sister who was a huge fan of Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, as well as Joni Mitchell. We'll get into David Crosby's relationship with Joni Mitchell in a moment. And I listened to the album So Far, which was a compilation album, almost incessantly. I had a recording of it on cassette tape. I probably wore that cassette tape out between when I was 12 and probably when I was 17 or 18, and started to buy their albums, their actual albums, as opposed to just listen to the compilation records. I was actually, interestingly enough, I was working on trying to do an interview with Crosby before WBAL and I parted ways. I had interviewed his bandmate, Chris Hillman, a bandmate from the Byrds, Chris Hillman, and was working down that road of trying to get Crosby on the air to talk about his life. He was a complicated figure, to say the least. Someone who lived life on his own terms, and I mean that in the most obstinate of ways. He was someone who was, it's not self-promotion, that's not the right word. Someone who stuck to his guns, almost to the point, or not almost, to the point where it destroyed relationships. He was fired from the Byrds after essentially souring his relationship with the other members of that band. There's a very famous story recounted in the great documentary, Remember My Name, put together by A.J. Eaton, documentary filmmaker A.J. Eaton, and Cameron Crowe, the filmmaker and author Cameron Crowe. He tells a story about being fired from the Byrds, Roger McGuinn and one of the other members coming to him and firing him, and destroyed his relationships over the years with his other bandmates in Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young. Graham Nash, who was arguably the closest person to him as far as music goes, didn't speak to him for the last, I should say, at least up until the documentary Remember My Name had been made. They hadn't spoken in several years, and they had gone for many, many years speaking every day. He had a relationship with Joni Mitchell before Graham Nash did. He saw Joni Mitchell perform in Florida, encouraged her to come to California. They had a romantic relationship. And he produced her first album, and he admits that he misproduced it. He badly produced it, though some of my favorite Joni Mitchell songs, like Cactus Tree, are on that album. And then he cheated on her, as he was known to do. He, again, in this documentary, talks openly about the mistakes that he made with women, his romantic relationships, his inability to sustain them. And there's a great story that's told, I think he recounts it there, of Joni Mitchell coming up to him at a party. She'd just written a song. Allegedly, it is that song about the Midway, in which a woman discovers that her boyfriend has been cheating on her, and she confronts him with that. She played the song for him twice. Joni Mitchell played the song for David Crosby twice. The second time to emphasize that it was over and done between them. He, as many of you know, he struggled with addiction. Struggled with other health issues, but struggled with addiction, wound up being arrested and serving time, coming out and really trying to make something of his life. Not performing. I think the last time he might have performed with Stephen Stills or Graham Nash might have been at a White House event back when Barack Obama was president. It didn't go very well. And then his relationship with both with those three bandmates, as I said, had soured. That being said, he owned up to it. He talked openly about it, about being a difficult person to get along with. And that stuck with him for many, many years, obviously. And nevertheless, he was a brilliant songwriter. He was a brilliant singer. He was a brilliant musician. And the world is a much dimmer place without him. So I'm going to go listen to some David Crosby music, think about him. And I want to leave you with this. The thing that makes me sad as a fan of his music was understanding his relationship with his bandmates, especially Graham Nash, someone else that I really very much want to interview. The fact that he was out of communication with them for a lot of reasons, that should be a lesson to all of us, that life is fleeting and that you should never leave this kind of business unfinished. You know, if you have the opportunity to make up with someone you've had a feud with, do so. Have a great night, everybody. Please stay safe.